While it seems that President Biden is asleep at the wheel, a lot of mandates, mistakes, and missteps have happened just in the past few weeks. It's kind of overwhelming. So, are there going to be any consequences? Joining me now to discuss this is Guy Lewis, former U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of Florida. Guy, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate your perspective today.
Thanks, Dana. Good to be here.
Of course. So the issue with these mandates, I know, for instance, we had the big battle over the eviction moratorium. I know that there's going to be a fight over the vaccine mandate as well. What do you see as being, well, let me put it this way. How successful do you think the administration is going to be in defending these edicts coming down from the president? Like, for instance, we'll just start with the vaccine mandate. I mean, what do you think that their chances are in being able to protect that as an order from Biden in court?
Listen, Dana, if passed as prologue, Biden and his administration is going to continue to swing and miss. I mean, the vaccine mandates are turning out horribly for him. You see him, his litigation, his Department of Justice in front of the Supreme Court. They've lost over and over. They're losing in the federal courts over and over. Their record, frankly, is abysmal. It's horrible right now.
Yeah, and I realize too, and we've talked about it here, I've talked about it on my radio program as well. For instance, the big fight with the whether or not the Supreme Court has a precedent and they can successfully defend these forced mandates, and everybody goes to Jacobson v. Massachusetts, which that was a state statute. That wasn't a case of the federal government trying to demand that someone did, and it was a $5 fine, which I think is the equivalent of $150 now. There's just, to me, and my untrained non-lawyerly perspective, it just doesn't look like, at least on that issue, that the administration has a chance.
Look, trust your legal intuition is better than the Justice Department's legal expertise right now. So go with your gut, Dana. I mean, look at what they're doing. They are losing on eviction moratorium. They've lost in terms of the oil and gas leases down in Louisiana. In the Supreme Court, several cases, they've just lost over and over. In Arizona, the voting restrictions they've lost. When you remember a few months ago when Biden tried to institute this moratorium on eviction, the Supreme Court told him, "Hey, you're going to lose this." He said, "You know what? I don't really know if I'm on legal ground." He did it anyway. And of course, months later, they lost. So really, I don't get it. You swear to uphold and defend the law, and there's a disconnect. There's a huge disconnect between the White House and the Justice Department.
I've been trying to, Guy, figure out a way to kind of to push back against the administration's border policies. I was speaking to a Texas state representative just a little bit earlier, and I know the big question that goes around is, well, why can't Texas Governor Greg Abbott, why can't he just send the National Guard down there or call the Texas Rangers and secure the border? And the answer is always, well, federal law. They can't do that because it's a federal law. But I'm curious as to, and this could be just a grotesque bastardization of this, but I'm curious as to whether or not, you could sort of reverse engineer that in a way. If you have federal policy that's highly damaging to a certain state and the state is having to use their own resources in order to deal with it. I mean, couldn't you just basically kind of do a quasi commandeering argument and say that this is violating states' rights and state sovereignty to an extent as well?
Listen, you're making a good point. So you're going to see in Florida, where I am, is in basically we're border states. I mean, you see it visually in Texas, but we're feeling it here when Governor DeSantis basically says to Biden and his people, look, you're overwhelming us right now. So I think, look, to answer your question specifically, I think you're going to see states successfully walk into the United States federal court and seek injunctive relief against the federal government. Look, they're not following the law. They're not doing their job. It was just like, Dana, when Biden came in, and what did he do? One of the first things he did is he put a 100-day moratorium on deportation. You'll remember that. And of course, they walked into federal court, and the court said, look, that's not even close to constitutional. So despite the fact that they're swearing to uphold the law, they're just not doing it.